Well, there's no doubt the Bathurst region is synonymous with harness racing. It's also very strong as far as the rugby league is concerned. I caught up with a gentleman who's been involved in both those particular sports and for quite some time, Wayne Judd. Well, Wayne, good to catch up with you. As I mentioned, the Bathurst region just synonymous with both harness racing and rugby league.
Yeah, and the competition out there is pretty stiff in both, to be honest with you.
Your career in both harness racing and rugby league, we're going to go through very shortly, but where did it all start?
I grew up in a little place called Withally, went to school at Forbes and moved down to Bathurst for an opportunity to try and find a bit of work and play a bit of footy at Bathurst Panthers. And sort of always had the harness racing in the background through my grandparents and whatnot, but sort of wasn't in a position to have a track or my own setup to do that at the time. And but so I just started working and then found myself in a financial position to have a couple of horses, and so I sort of rolled them both into one.
Your grandfather Ralph started the ball rolling in the 1960s, a wheat farmer and also sheep?
Yeah, Ralph had a farm out at a little place called Withally, and it's been a family farm for years. My old man, and that was since retired from the Cockian game. It's pretty hard out there in that marginal country, but they've done it for a lot of years out there and sort of always had a team in work as well, and with a bit of success back in the day when, you know, we used to get around the gymkhanas and the shows and stuff like that as well, and it was all good fun, and I was happy to jump on and go for a ride to Lake Jellicoe show or something like that. It was good fun.
And your father Glenn's enjoyed a lot of success in harness racing?
Yeah, he's always had a couple rolling around. He's always, whenever I lucky enough to have one good enough to come down here, I always like to put him on because he's been around and done it for. It doesn't do much driving these days, but he's got a handful and always keep his finger on the pulse, and I'm sure he'll do a good job for me tonight.
On the other side of the family, another grandfather, Neville Condon.
Yeah, Nevy, he was out there at Grenfell. He always used to break a lot of horses in, and well-known breaker around the Central West area, and done a good job with his horses. Most of his horses were very well behaved, and sent them, when they went home, they were done right and they were ready to go on with and see if they'd make their races.
Now you're here tonight with Man Mountain. You've driven him to victory and two very emphatic victories at Bathurst, but you've jumped off to give Dad the reins.
Yeah, so I haven't got my Metro driver's licence yet. Sort of when you only train 2 or 3 horses of your own, it's a bit hard to get rid of a few suspensions when you got to get clear for 200 drives. So hopefully we can get them out of the way in the next 6 months, and I might be able to drive one myself. But it makes it good if you can chuck your old man on, and in that same token, the horse is going good, and hopefully they can both do a job tonight.
You've been involved in harness racing now for 10 years licensed, but naturally enough you started at a very young age.
Yeah, I was always driving horses as a young kid with Dad and doing hobble work and stuff like that out on the farm. We just had a track in the middle of one of the crop paddocks, and we just graded it in. It was just a natural dirt track, and it used to do the job for us, and got a few winners out of there, and it was all good fun, and a few spills along the way, but all good fun.
Your wife Claire, certainly a tower of strength as far as the stable is concerned.
Yeah, definitely, mate. No stone gets left unturned. Like everything's covered. If the horses turn up to the races, they always look $1 million. I can't take credit for that. She's always got them looking cherry ripe. She's an equine dentist and does a fantastic job of that. And that's actually how I met her. And now she was my dentist before she was my wife, so she's bloody good at that. But I'm biased now.
Well, you've got a lot of bases covered then, because apart from training just a small team yourself as a hobby trainer, you're also now a noted farrier.
Yeah, so I work full time, and I shoot sort of 15 a week on the side between work and 12-hour shift work. So it's just a good way to put a bit of chaff in the food shed for my team, and hopefully put a bit of weight to find a nice horse one day, and we'll go on a nice holiday.
Yeah, you've certainly had a long and distinguished career in rugby league, which continues today, both as a player and an official. Let's start with your rugby league career.
I played a lot of footy at Red Band College at Forbes, and with a reasonable amount of success without getting too carried away. And I moved to Bathurst for uni at that stage, but I soon worked out that wasn't for me. And a fellow who's now the women's NRL Australian coach, he was the development officer in Bathurst at the time, and sort of took me under his wing, and ended up working part-time for him and getting a full-time gig with the Country Rugby League at that stage, and as a development officer. Worked in that for 6 years, and then they were converted to the NRL, and worked as a development officer for 10 years in the Central West, and you know, got to see some great talented players who are playing NRL now, and you know, in some small bit being able to contribute, whether it be just handing them a footy jumper or something, but you know, to have some involvement with those guys is fantastic.
It's always good to see the Country Rugby League doing well.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of work needs to be done at the moment. They've tried to change things up, and they're rethinking it all now. There's a lot of bush clubs are struggling. Money's really knocking a hole in them because there's blokes and there's clubs that are receiving or paying thousands of dollars for blokes to play the game. There's not much love for the game anymore. It's more based on what the club can do for the player. And it showed when I tried to captain coach Blaney Bears, but they folded because money's just huge in bush footy, and it's very hard to compete when you don't have the bankroll to back you.
You've had more clubs than Greg Norman.
Yeah, no, I've played for a few. I think last count was about 6 or 7 in the Group 10 area. So got a lot of good friends in those clubs, and I've probably a fair few enemies too playing in the front row. There was a fair few blokes that you used to butt heads with, but it was all in good fun. And at the end of the day, it was always good to go and have a beer after the game and have a bit of a yarn and see how things are going outside of footy.
Wade, back in the old days, front rowers did butt heads.
Yeah, well, I got a few suspensions for stuff like that. Apparently, you're not allowed to do it anymore. So, yeah, good fun though.
And a couple of other harness racing identities, both in Jack Davis and Jake Betts, have both been under your care.
Yeah, I coached all those boys and Dougie Hewitt and a few of those guys in the Western Academy sides. All a good bunch of fellas, and always said that if you want to get a committed and a really committed and honest footballer, go and find a bloke that gets up out of bed to go and work horses at 5:30 in the morning, because they always turn up the training, they always do a good job, and they've had a pretty good career in rugby league. Doug's played a lot of footy in the junior rep sides and whatnot, and won comps in the under 20s and stuff like that. And Jake's the current Bathurst Panthers first grade coach. So they've all done a good job in their own right, and they're doing a great job. Just got to try and beat them every week at Bathurst Trots.
Now, Wade, is Doug Hewitt as good as what he keeps telling us he is?
Nowhere near it. No, Dougie's fantastic. Dougie's the way I describe Dougie is if you put your money in on interest that wasn't very high because you're not taking much risk, he'd just get the job done for you week in, week out, and he's just as solid as a rock. But don't tell him I said that.
Well, it's been great to catch up with you. Good luck with Man Mountain tonight.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much.